Hey there guys, how's it going today? In today's video, I'll be doing a bit of speculation about the next generation of Pokemon games, Gen 9. Alright, so we're gonna do it. I wanted to do it. I want to talk about more Pokemon stuff, so I thought this is a kind of cool little way to talk about some stuff. And look, some might say, well, it's way too early to talk about Gen 9. Think about Gen 9, it's one of those things, it's always unfortunate to that extent, that degree, like the new games haven't even come out, BDSP and Legends Arceus, but everyone and his grandmother wants to, start thinking about Gen 9. But the thing is, Gen 9 will be here soon, and, you've got to somewhat speculate about it because it's one of those things. It's like, well, it'll be here soon within a couple of years. They always do that, or almost always do that whole, 3-year gap or whatever. So, like, we haven't got that long, really. Like, maybe next year we could get Gen 9. Like, maybe the year after could be. It's very likely to be fairly soon. There's a lot of speculation out there. I know, and, I just want to throw my little bit of speculation out there because I think it's fun and I think it's interesting and I think a lot of people like this stuff. There's a little bit of evidence out there that you kind of point to with some Pokemon, some little hints here and there and whatnot. In the latest games, maybe there'll be more hints in BDSP and Legends Arceus at some point. We'll see some of those maybe. But, for now we can only work with what we've got. And, the main theory that I want to go with is saying that the Gen 9 games might, and I'm going to say this again, this is purely speculation. This is purely me spitballing ideas and going, hey, what about this? Would this be cool? Or, let's just consider this, or let's just look at some of the evidence for this. This is, I don't have insider information, any of this, okay? Just that quick disclaimer, I want to get that out of the way really quickly because I don't know anything. There's hints, and again, there's bigger and better YouTubers out there, gonna be always, but then that's the name of the game here on YouTube. Everyone basically does the same thing anyway, and hundreds of people get thousands of K worth of views. So why can't I? So we'll wait and see. But anyway, there are a few little things, but my theory is that perhaps maybe the next gen games will be going to India. So again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Don't, put stock into this. Even though I've seen a few PokeTubers and some other people that are out in the geeky and anime communities discussing this, it doesn't carry any more weight just because we're discussing it and theorizing about it. And even if lots of people are theorizing about basically the same thing, and even if there's Chinese Riddler and this hacker and whatnot, or whatever, data miners or whatever around that are, somehow, got some information, still take it with a grain of salt just until it's all official. There's been a few leaks in the last few years, so it's not impossible or improbable that leaks could happen and whatnot. But again, let's just wait to see where things go until they actually come out. So one of the first things that I wanted to discuss was some of the hints as to why I think the next games could be in India. One of them is related to one of the latest Sword and Shield Pokemon, Carparaja. Now, when you look at Carparaja, it's obviously an elephant, very big elephant. But where do you associate elephants with? North Africa, Middle Africa, whatnot. and northern India and whatnot, Pakistan and that area. But one of the things that's information about Caparaja, and I know a few people might have already pointed this out, is that in its Pokédex entry it says that it came from another region long ago. It works together with humans. So, like, it coming from another region long ago, I think a lot of, British, tourists and, well, not tourists, but, tourists and colonialists and whatnot came back from India, bringing back, some Indian elephants and whatnot, for many reasons, mostly for sport and whatnot and things like this, or for their own collections and whatnot. So you can see that there's a little bit of that, information there. So that makes some sense. You can see that, it is a Pokemon, much like, animals that are in a region that would be like India. So that's interesting at least, and you can sort of see where that's going and why that's there and things like that. Another Pokemon that I think is a bit of a hint is also the mythical Pokemon, and in the last few years, especially, a lot of the mythical Pokemon that we get are hints at what the next generation of games will be, and that is Zyrude, which is a monkey or an ape or something similar to that style of Pokemon. And where do you sort of associate apes and monkeys and things like this? You associate them with Africa and like Brazil and also India. So, those are two things. Like, if we cut down the two like similarities between Caparaja and Zyrude, it's Africa and India. Like, so those areas are two big areas, but there's more information that I want to, discuss here before we get too far going on that. Because, like, again, we'll look at this Pokédex. Within dense forest, Pokemon lives in a pack with others of its kind. It is incredibly aggressive, and the other Pokemon in the other Pokemon in the forest fear it. When its vines of its body tear off, they become nutrients for the soil. It helps plants grow in the forest. So it's a very interesting like set of little bit of information. It doesn't say enough for you to like go, well, this makes sense, but like, again, you can see some connections. So yeah, like, and there's more that I want to go through a little bit. So one of them being that recently, I was trying to remember that it was, what was the last region called? It was, I always get confused with which one Alola is. I always forget, but it's got a weird name. But just the Alola region, anyway. Like, that's a state of the USA. Or it's a state of, like the US. The region before that was Kalos, which is France, or French related. And the most recent region was England, or, Galar. And beyond the US, which they've already done in Unova, they've only done Japanese-based regions. So they're starting to do this, global, sort of thing. One of the things that they've sort of, it seems like a semi-theme, if you can follow along with it a little bit, Like France, not so much maybe, but they visited the US, they visited England, and they've visited England. They visited the US again. Like they've visited the US twice, and they've visited England once. So they're obviously targeting like English, like, or more major demographics. So that's another like sales marketing thing that I don't want to go into too much of, but it's one of those things where of course you want to try to base your region on a big selling market or a big selling area, because there'll be more hype in that area for that game because it's based on that region or whatnot. So, or it's part of that country or whatnot. So the two US games makes a lot of sense because, again, you look at US is probably one of the biggest markets, and it's also one of the most vast countries, and there's a lot that you can sort of do with it and whatnot. So again, you can see why and where and how and whatnot you could base regions off. The UK, again, another very big area that you can base a lot of stuff off with your region, and a very big demographic. So, the same is applied to any area. Like, if you look at any part of Africa, there's maybe like one or two areas in Africa that are fairly densely populated, but the rest is pretty sparse. So I don't really think that you would see a region based around Africa anytime soon. Maybe in a few years they might do it, but I don't really think they really would very soon, because again, like, the numbers of people that are in that area aren't that big that maybe play Pokemon or whatnot, because it's a very war-torn area and whatnot. So again, it's not the best region to perhaps think about doing something with, because who wants to go out for a game when you're like needing to get away from barbarians or whatever it is, like the raids coming or whatnot, things like that. So it's much easier to target it towards more stable nations and things like that. Again, even though India has its problems, you can sort of see that it's much more stable. You could look at like maybe South America, but again, the elephant thing doesn't really make sense. And you're looking for things that are abnormalities in a region. You're looking for things that are there that don't belong there, sort of thing. So that sort of rules that out to me a little bit, because, like, are you going to put these things in a game just to be like, oh, well, we won't figure that out? I mean, they did it with a few